Okay, so we've really dug into these sources on stingless bees, and honestly what we found, it kind of changes everything you think you know about bees, even if you're already into bees.
Absolutely. We're talking about these ancient architects. They really challenge all the usual assumptions about honey, about defense, even the chemistry of, well, the stuff they make, this amazing elixir.
Yeah, elixir is a good word for it. So our mission today really is to pull out the most surprising, the most crucial bits from the research, show you what makes these honey engineers so incredibly unique.
Definitely get ready to rethink honey.
We're focusing on this specific group, right? The Meliponene tribe.
Exactly. That's the scientific name. And they completely redefine what we think of as social bees and, what their products can be.
So this deep dive is going to highlight just how different they are from, say, the regular honeybees we all picture. We're drawing mostly from this comprehensive encyclopedia source you gave us.
That's the plan. Really get into the details.
Okay, let's start with the history. Because you said ancient. How ancient are we talking? Like, what does that really mean on an evolutionary scale?
We mean really ancient. Stingless bees are this incredibly diverse group, right? Highly social. Over 600 species identified around the world.
Oh, 600.
Yeah, and 41 just in Thailand alone. But their defining thing, it's right there in the name. They have a vestigial stinger.
Vestigial. So, like, leftover.
Exactly. It's an evolutionary remnant, totally useless for defense. They can't sting.
No sting at all. Okay, that's a huge difference right off the bat. So how do they manage? How have they survived for so long without that main weapon?
Well, their evolutionary history is just incredibly long. We have this amazing fossil evidence preserved in amber.
Amber fossils. Cool.
Yeah, dating back to the late Cretaceous period. That's over 65 million years ago.
65 million. So they were around with the dinosaurs.
They coexisted with dinosaurs, which makes them one of the oldest groups of social bees on the entire planet.
Mind blown. Okay, so no stinger, dinosaur neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
What did they do for defense then?
Well, they evolved some really sophisticated strategies instead. They bite aggressively. They have these strong mandibles.
House.
And some species can actually secrete formic acid from glands near their jaws.
Right.
Causes this painful burning sensation.
Formic acid, like ants.
Similar idea, yeah. And others, they just entangle intruders like ants or other pests in this super sticky propolis they make.
Sticky propolis trap. Sounds effective. And horrible.
Definitely deters predators.
Okay, so they're ancient, they're survivors.
Yeah.
And you mentioned they're all over the tropics and subtropics.
That's right. Their global presence is huge. Neotropical areas, Afrotropical, Indo-Australian. It shows how adaptable they are.
Did ancient cultures know about them? Or is there special honey like a recent discovery?
No, not recent at all. You see huge diversity in the Neotropics, South and Central America. Well, there's also this rich history of human interaction there.
Like who?
The ancient Mayans, for instance, they actually revered a specific species, Melipona beechi. Its honey was really valued medicinally and culturally.
Fascinating.
Okay.
Okay, this leads me to something else I found really interesting. Their nests. Because we think beehive, we picture those perfect hexagons, right?
Right, wax combs.
But stingless bees
Uh-huh.
build something totally different. You called it an antiseptic fortress. What's that about? How do they build it?
Yeah, their nest is, it's a marvel of natural engineering. It's built from this unique material called cerumen.
Cerumen. Okay.
And it's not just beeswax, it's a mix. Beeswax plus plant resins, that sticky stuff we mentioned, propolis.
The propolis again.
Exactly. And this cerumen mix gives the nest incredible strength, durability, and crucially, antimicrobial properties. It's not like the neat hexagons at all.
So the structure inside is different too.
Totally. Many species build this characteristic entrance tube. It's not just a door. It helps regulate temperature and humidity inside. And it's a serious defensive bottleneck.
Smart.
And inside, the brood cells where the young develop, they're spherical or oval. And they store their food, honey and pollen, in these large, sealed, pot-like structures, also made of cerumen.
Pot-like structures. Okay, so the cerumen makes it strong and clean. And that key ingredient, propolis. It sounds like it's doing more than just being glue, right?
Yeah.
You called it the colony's pharmacy.
That's precisely it. Propolis, that resinous mix they collect from tree buds and sap. For
Right.
stingless bees, it's absolutely fundamental. It's the cornerstone of their existence.
More than just building blocks.
Way more. It doesn't just form the nest structure, it actively functions as the colony's external immune system. These resins are packed with compounds, phenolics, flavonoids, terpenes,
Plant chemicals, basically.
powerful plant-derived chemicals, yeah. They have strong antimicrobial, antifungal, antiviral properties, actively protecting the hive from diseases.
That's amazing, like a built-in health system.
It is. And get this, research has even shown that propolis from various stingless bee species has significant anti-cancer activity against several types of human cancer cells in lab studies.
Whoa, okay, hold on. Anti-cancer activity. From bee nest material.
In vitro, yes. Significant findings. We're talking about substances with real therapeutic potential, naturally present because of how these bees build and interact with their environment.
That just it completely expands how you think about a hive. It's not just a house. It's a sophisticated, living, biochemical system.
It absolutely is. The level of biochemical sophistication is, well, it's astounding.
Truly. Okay, so they have this amazing nest pharmacy. What about what they eat inside? I read about something called bee bread. Sounds nutritious.
Bee bread is definitely a superfood. It's the main food for the larvae, the developing bees, and the queen.
How do they make it?
Worker bees mix pollen they've collected with nectar, a bit of honey, and their own saliva. Then they pack this mixture into storage pots.
Okay.
And here's the cool part. This mixture undergoes a natural lactic acid fermentation, just like making yogurt or sourdough bread.
Fermentation. Inside the hive.
Yep. This process breaks down the tough outer layer of the pollen grains, which makes all the nutrients inside much easier to absorb, more bioavailable. And it enriches the bee bread with extra vitamins, minerals, and beneficial bacteria.
A fermented superfood for the babies. These bees are incredible.
They really are.
So, okay, chemically fortified nest, fermented superfood, but the real kicker, the thing that blew my mind, is how they make honey. It's a totally different approach, a different philosophy almost, than regular honeybees. You mentioned fermentation versus dehydration. Can you break that down?
This is probably the defining difference when it comes to the honey itself. Honeybees, like the common Apis mellifera, use a physical strategy. It's very energy intensive.
How does that work?
Worker bees collect nectar, bring it back, regurgitate it, pass it around, and crucially, they vigorously fan their wings at the hive entrance.
Creating a draft.
Exactly. Creates airflow, evaporates water from the nectar until the moisture content drops way down below 20%, usually around 17–18%.
And that preserves it.
Right. This super low water content creates what we call a hyperosmotic environment. It basically sucks the water out of any microbes, inhibiting their growth. It's essentially a microbial desert. Physical preservation.
Okay, microbial desert. Got it. So how do stingless bees do it differently then?
It's completely different. Stingless bees do not actively dehydrate their honey. Their honey naturally has a much higher moisture content, often between 25 even up to 40%.
Wow, that's way higher. Wouldn't that spoil?
You'd think so based on honeybee honey. But instead of physical preservation, they rely on a sophisticated biochemical strategy. They store their honey in those cerumen pots we talked about, the ones infused with propolis.
Ah, the propolis pots again.
Yes, this creates a sealed, naturally antiseptic container. And inside that pot, a controlled fermentation process happens.
Fermentation again.
Yes. It's driven by beneficial symbiotic microorganisms, things like lactobacillus bacteria, the same kind found in yogurt, and Saccharomyces yeasts used in brewing and baking.
So they're cultivating microbes in their honey.
In a controlled way, yes. This fermentation produces various organic acids like gluconic acid, acetic acid, lactic acid. This significantly increases the honey's acidity. Way more acidic than honeybee honey.
So it's the acidity in the propolis.
Exactly. The combination of the propolis-infused pot and that high acidity creates a chemically hostile environment that preserves the honey, even with its high water content. It makes it a living, fermented product, not just a dehydrated one.
Living honey. That sounds intense. It's less about killing all microbes and more about encouraging the right kind of microbes.
Precisely. Those microbes contribute to the honey's unique properties and its preservation. It's a biochemical fortress, not a physical desert.
Okay, that's a fundamental shift in understanding honey.
Yeah.
And speaking of unique, I heard this process gives stingless bee honey something called terroir, like wine. How does that work for honey?
Yes, the terroir concept fits perfectly. Stingless bees have a remarkably short foraging range. Much shorter than honeybees.
How short?
Typically only maybe 50 to 300 meters from their nest. Honeybees can go kilometers.
Tiny range.
Right. So this highly localized foraging means their honey is this incredibly concentrated reflection of the specific hyperlocal ecosystem right around the nest. Its taste, its chemistry, it's all tied directly to the flowers and plants in that tiny radius.
So theoretically, if you moved a hive, just say 500 meters down the road, the honey could actually taste different.
Absolutely. It very likely would. That's terroir in action.
That is genuinely fascinating. Okay, so what does this living fermented honey actually taste like? I'm guessing it's not just purely sweet like regular honey.
Not at all. Its defining feature is this complex sweet and sour flavor profile. That's because of the much higher acidity from the fermentation we talked about.
Sweet and sour honey. Interesting.
Yeah. And depending on the specific floral sources in that little foraging area, you might also pick up subtle bitter notes or maybe herbal notes.
Any other taste quirks?
Well, there's this really intriguing observation, kind of folklore among beekeepers, but actually backed by some Thai research. It seems big size correlates with taste.
Who so?
Generally, the larger stingless bee species, like Lepidotrigona terminata, tend to produce honey that's more sour forward, while the smaller species, like Tetragonula pagdeni, often produce honey that's more sweet forward.
That's wild. Bee size influencing sourness.
Right.
Okay, what about texture and color? Is it still thick, golden syrup?
Nope. Because of that high moisture content, 25–35%, typically it's much less viscous, more watery. It flows really easily at room temperature.
Thinner, flows easily. And color?
Can vary dramatically. Anything from a pale, light golden all the way to nearly black.
Black honey?
Yeah. And maybe the most extreme examples are things like the emerald honey and dark violet honey found in Thailand.
Emerald. Like green honey.
Literally green honey, yeah.
Yeah.
Found in the Melaleuca Kajuputi swamp forests. It just shows the incredible diversity possible, driven by very specific local plants. True taste of place.
Emerald honey. Sounds like something out of a fantasy story. Which I guess leads us perfectly into its chemical composition and of those medicinal properties you hinted at. Beyond the unique taste, what makes this elixir so potent?
Well, first, those key identifiers. High moisture and high acidity. They're different from the international standard set for regular Apis mellifera honey. But for stingless bee honey, they're completely natural and essential.
Right, it's a feature, not a bug.
Exactly. But crucially, many varieties, especially those studied in Australia and Southeast Asia, contain high levels of a sugar called trehalulose.
Trehalose, what?
Trehalulose, Trehalulose. It's a rare type of sugar, a disaccharide, and the really important thing, it has a low glycemic index, a low GI.
Low GI, meaning?
Meaning it releases energy slowly into your bloodstream. It doesn't cause those sharp spikes and crashes in blood sugar that you get from regular sugars like glucose and fructose.
A low GI honey, that's huge. Especially for people watching their blood sugar.
It absolutely is. It's a major point of difference. And there's more. Research consistently shows stingless bee honey has significantly higher concentrations of total phenolic compounds, TPC, and total flavonoid compounds, TFC, compared to regular honeybee honey.
Phenolics and flavonoids, those are antioxidants, right?
Powerful antioxidants, yes. They come partly from the nectar, but a lot comes from that propolis infusion in the storage pods. These compounds help protect your body's cells from damage caused by free radicals.
So it's basically an antioxidant powerhouse because of the propolis.
That's a huge part of it. Take that emerald honey from Thailand we mentioned, the green stuff.
Yeah.
Research on that, led by Dr. Thanaset Thongsak Lane, found something like 195 important substances in it. But two compounds really stood out.
Yeah.
One called embolin. It's reported to have anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, even anti-tumor potential, and maybe neuroprotective effects potential for things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's research.
Wow.
And the other was lumicrum. It's actually a derivative of vitamin B2, and it's shown anti-cancer properties in lab studies against lung, colorectal, and breast cancer cells, plus antioxidant effects.
Lumicrum. Okay, so specific potent compounds are being identified.
Yes. And remember, this isn't just about the nectar the bees collected. The propolis isn't just coating the pot. It's genuinely infusing into the honey itself over time.
Right, so the storage method directly enhances the honey's medicinal potential.
That's the key takeaway. That direct infusion via the cerumen pots gives the honey powerful antimicrobial and antibacterial activity too.
Against what kind of microbes?
Studies show it's effective against common pathogens, things like Staphylococcus aureus, staph, E. coli, and the fungus Candida albicans.
Nasty stuff.
Yeah.
Huh?
And some specific honeys are particularly potent. Research in Thailand showed honey from Tetragonula laeviceps was very effective. It's this combination, the high acidity, some enzymatic hydrogen peroxide production like other honeys, plus those high phenolic compounds from the propolis. It gives it this broad spectrum antimicrobial punch.
Which would also explain why it's used traditionally for things like wound healing and sore throats.
Exactly. Anti-inflammatory effects, wound healing support. It all ties back to this unique chemistry.
Okay, this is fascinating. Let's try and pull this together for everyone listening. We've got ancient origins, unique nests, weird fermentation, potent medicine. Now, why does this matter to you, the listener? Time for the showdown. Stingless bee versus the honeybee, we all know. What are the absolute key differences, biologically speaking?
Okay, let's line them up. Difference number one, the obvious one, the stinger. Vestigial and useless in stingless bees, fully functional in honeybees.
Check.
Size. Stingless bees are generally smaller. Some are tiny, like 2 millimeters up to maybe 1.5 centimeters. Honeybees are chunkier.
Smaller bees. Got it.
Nest construction. Honeybees build those iconic hexagonal combs from pure beeswax. Stingless bees use cerumen that wax propolis mix and store food in those pot-like structures. Completely different architecture.
Pods versus combs. Okay,
Yeah.
What else?
Their whole foraging strategy is different. And this connects to why their products are so different.
Ah, right. You mentioned this relates to climate.
Exactly. Honeybees evolved in temperate climates with cold winters. Their survival depends on storing huge amounts of energy, so they prioritize collecting high-carbohydrate nectar to make lots of honey.
Makes sense. Winter fuel.
Right. Stingless bees, on the other hand, mostly live in tropical or subtropical regions. Resources are available year-round. They don't need massive honey stores for winter. Instead, they focus on continuous brood rearing, raising young all the time.
So they need protein.
Loads of protein. So they prioritize collecting high-protein pollen. The ratio is almost flipped. Stingless bees might collect something like 80% pollen and 20% nectar. For honeybees, it's the reverse. Maybe 80% nectar, 20% pollen.
That foraging difference alone explains so much about why the honey is rarer and maybe why propolis is so central.
Okay, so biology is different. Now, the honey itself, drop for drop, what are the key contrasts?
Okay, honey comparison. Moisture. Honeybee honey, low moisture, under 20%. Stingless bee honey, high moisture, over 25%, sometimes up to 40%.
Big difference. Acidity. Honeybee honey, moderately acidic, mostly sweet taste. Stingless bee honey, significantly more acidic, giving that characteristic sweet and sour taste.
Sweet versus sweet and sour. Sugars.
Honeybee honey is mainly simple sugars. Fructose and glucose. Stingless bee honey, as we said, often contains high amounts of that special low GI sugar, trehalose.
Low GI versus high GI.
Okay.
And the health stuff, the bioactive compounds.
That's where the propolis infusion really makes a mark. Because stingless bees build their honey pots with propolis, the honey gets infused with much higher concentrations of those phenolic and flavonoid compounds, the antioxidants, compared to regular honeybee honey.
So demonstrably higher antioxidants.
Got it. With all these unique properties, is this stingless bee honey just a tiny niche product, or is it actually making waves?
Oh, it's rapidly gaining serious status, super premium status. It's often compared to Manuka honey.
Manuka, right. Known for its antibacterial properties. Exactly, but Manuka's value is often pinned on one specific compound, MgO, methyl glyoxal, which gives it antibacterial strength. Stingless bee honey is valued for a broader package. The high antioxidant levels, that unique low GI sugar profile with trehalulose, and broad-spectrum antimicrobial activity from the acidity and propolis compounds.
A different kind of powerhouse.
Right, and that makes it highly sought after in the global wellness market, which leads to the price. It's often 3 to 10 times more expensive than regular honey.
3 to 10 times. Why so much?
Rarity, mainly.
Yeah.
And perceived therapeutic value. Think about production. A standard honeybee colony might produce 25 kilograms, maybe more, of honey in a year.
Okay.
A typical stingless bee colony produces less than 1 kilogram per year.
Less than 1 kilo. Okay, that explains the price tag. Rarity and unique properties.
Absolutely.
Final comparison point. Pollination. We know honeybees are workhorses. What about stingless bees?
Both are excellent pollinators, but they have different strengths, different specialties. Honeybees, with their huge colony sizes and longer flight range, are incredibly efficient for pollinating large-scale monoculture crops. Think almonds, apples, things like that.
Right, big fields.
Stingless bees, being smaller, can get into tiny, complex flowers that larger honeybees might ignore or damage. More importantly, many stingless bee species are capable of buzz pollination.
Buzz pollination, what's that?
They grab onto the flower and vibrate their flight muscles at a specific frequency. This vibration shakes the pollen loose from the flower's anthers. Certain plants, like tomatoes, blueberries, eggplants, peppers, require this kind of vibration to release their pollen effectively.
And honeybees can't do that.
Honeybees cannot buzz pollinate. So stingless bees are essential pollinators for a whole different range of crops and crucial for maintaining biodiversity in natural ecosystems.
Any examples?
Sure. In Thailand, for instance, they're considered primary pollinators for important native fruit crops like durian, rambutan, longan, mangosteen. Studies have shown they can increase the fruit set for longan by over 20%.
Wow, so vital for specific crops. Okay,
Yeah.
these amazing little creatures creating this unique elixir. But like all pollinators, they face threats,
Right.
right? What are the big dangers for stingless bees?
Sadly, yes. The major threats are pretty familiar. Habitat loss is huge: deforestation, urbanization destroying their nesting sites, and the plants they rely on for food.
Makes sense.
Then there's pesticide use. Widespread chemical pesticides are highly detrimental. And remember their short foraging range, 50 to 300 meters?
Yeah, tiny range.
That makes them particularly vulnerable. Even if they naturally try to avoid contaminated sources, if pesticides are sprayed nearby in agricultural areas, they're inevitably exposed.
So the poison comes back to the hive.
Exactly. We've seen alarming data from Thailand showing pesticide residues, things like carbaryl and carbofuran, actually in stingless bee honey. It essentially poisons the entire colony from the inside out.
That's awful, just devastating.
It is. And then, of course, climate change adds another layer of stress-disrupting flowering times, causing extreme weather events that can damage colonies.
It's a tough picture. But there are people working to protect them, right? Conservation efforts.
Yeah.
And what can listeners do?
Absolutely, there are efforts. Promoting sustainable meliponiculture, that's stingless beekeeping, is really key.
How does that help?
It provides a direct economic incentive for local communities to protect the bees and their habitats. If the bees are valuable, the forest they live in becomes valuable. Thailand's Department of Agricultural Extension, for example, actively supports farmers getting into this.
Good. What else?
Habitat protection itself, preserving forests, planting diverse, native, bee-friendly flowers. And a big one, reducing pesticide use, advocating for integrated pest management, supporting organic farming practices.
And for the average person.
Public awareness is crucial. Understanding how special these bees are, making informed choices as consumers, supporting businesses that practice sustainable sourcing, it all contributes to fostering stewardship.
Okay. And looking ahead, for the scientists, the researchers, what's next? Where's the research focused now for stingless bees and their honey?
A really major focus area is establishing official quality standards for stingless bee honey.
Why is that needed?
Because its unique properties, the high moisture, the high acidity, mean it fails current international honey standards, which were designed for Apis mellifera honey. This creates problems for trade and consumer trust.
So new standards for this specific type of honey.
Exactly. Malaysia has already established national standards for their stingless bee honey, called kilulut honey, and researchers in Thailand and other countries are working hard to provide the scientific data needed to establish similar standards globally.
That seems vital for the market. What else?
Definitely more clinical research to really validate the therapeutic benefits we've talked about: wound healing, maybe neurodegenerative diseases, and to pinpoint exactly which bioactive compounds are responsible for which effects.
Deeper into the pharmacy aspect.
Right. And finally, understanding their pollination ecology even better. Figuring out how to best utilize different stingless bee species for specific crops to improve yields and support food security, especially in the tropics.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what does this deep dive mean for you listening right now? We've seen that these stingless bees are, well, they're ancient survivors. They're brilliant biochemical engineers.
Absolutely.
And they create this truly unique medicinal elixir. It's a product that's fundamentally shaped by fermentation, not just dehydration like regular honey.
Right. It's a functional superfood. Really distinct from conventional honey. You've got that complex sweet-sour flavor, that unique low GI sugar trehalulose, and those incredibly high antioxidant and antimicrobial properties from the propolis.
If you connect this to the bigger picture, it just shows how much more there is to learn for the natural world.
It really does. These tiny insects, using this ancient wisdom, they offer us not just a sweetener, but potentially powerful natural medicines. It highlights the incredible biodiversity and, frankly, the untapped potential still waiting in ecosystems all around the world.
So maybe the next time you see a jar of honey, or even just see a bee buzzing past, take a second. Think about this hidden world of tiny architects, these stingless bees, and the profound impact of their ancient know-how on the elixir they create. And maybe think about how supporting things like sustainable meliponiculture, isn't just about bees, it's about protecting unique local ecosystems and the incredible insects that engineer them.
It's a pretty sweet investment, you could say, in the future of our planet.